Oh, there's Jake's farm. So we're ready to go with episode number 6 on the second series of A Podful of Saints plus one. One ex-Saint, David Tavener, and the other ex-Saint is Lee Wood.
How are we doing, Tabs? You okay, mate?
I'm very good. Oh, that's a nice bright shirt you got there tonight, Lee.
Thank you very much. I'll do what I can for you, my friend.
And signed by Gary Elphick, I believe.
It is. Well, it's either that or it's a bit of gravy, but I think it's the signature, so we're good.
Yeah, well, save the referee time asking for his name, which happened in most games. And Jake Ellacott. Good evening, Jake.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is well during lockdown number 2.
What shirt have you got tonight, Jake?
I'm wearing a Phillips number from, I believe, 0304, somewhere around there. I think it's my first City shirt. So, yeah, it just about fits. A bit tighter these days.
Bit snug, is it, mate?
Yeah, it certainly is.
Hey, listen, happens to us all eventually, my friend. It's how it goes.
Yeah.
The circle of life.
Yeah. My one's from 82, 83, before mobile phones and all that sort of thing. So obviously there's no badge on it. Right. We've got a football match to talk about. We're doing this at 6 o'clock on the Wednesday night, the 11th of November. But before we come to that match, just like before the game last night, we had a minute silence through the names of the 9 City players who fell during the 2 wars. 7 went in the First World War. Fred Alfred Day was 25. William George Figg was 27. He's actually related to Bob Walkley, our old photographer. Arthur Gatwood, 25. Jack Hillier, 25. Jack Rainsden, 32. Oliver Summers, who had a Distinguished Conduct Medal, he was 25, and Arthur Wiggs, 24. And sadly lost 2 more in the Second World War. Charlie Bunce, phenomenal goal scorer, 30. And Wheat Hampstead resident Edward Alexander Cunnington. And like we said, they shall not be forgotten. Last night's match might be forgotten quite quickly. You had it on radio, Lee. What did you make of it?
Well, we won. I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to there, Taz. Positivity all round, mate. Come on, it's brilliant. 2-1 after being a goal behind. I have to say, I was working, so I had it on the wireless. Very entertaining commentary. Sort of different concept, obviously, for when you're watching it on the stream. But they had Paul Fairclough on, and I was sort of hoping he was going to give a bit more sort of intellectual outside on to the game as what I've been on there previously. But it was like cliche City. I don't know whether it was the fact that he didn't know any of the players or what, but it was just very disappointing in terms of his sort of outlay commentary wise. But I thought the game itself sounded bright enough, but it sounded though we squandered quite a lot of chances in the first half in particular.
Well, if Graham Griffin was doing the commentary, he did a good job, because the emails I've had today take a somewhat different view from the one that he gave off. I'm glad you mentioned Paul Fairclough, because this shirt is number 11, and Paul Fairclough wore it once during the 82-83 season. Jake, you were commentating on the game. Your take on it?
I think, like Lee says, we have to be positive. We won, but it wasn't the greatest game. I thought it was a bit of a tough battle. I thought Braintree actually did quite a good job themselves. Obviously, aside bottom of the league, they were always going to make it tough for us, and they did exactly that. They came out, bit fortunate at times, but at the same time, they actually passed the ball quite well. I thought wasn't necessarily the George Borg side that you expected. They got a few decent players there. And they were good value for their lead, but in the end, they just couldn't hold on. And I think that's possibly the difference. But, it wasn't the most entertaining game, but we've won again. We've maintained our unbeaten start, last unbeaten side in the division. And really, at this stage of the season, if you offered us that, we would have bitten your hands off, I think.
Lee started watching us in 92, 93. This is the first time we won our opening 4 league games since that season. Opening 4 home league games, I should say, sorry.
It's a brilliant. It's a brilliant start, isn't it? That's exactly what you want.
I actually spoke to the Braintree chairman, Lee Harding, and he's sort of shared Ian Allinson's post-match thoughts that he wasn't entirely sure how they've gone pointless, because the fact is they've played some really good stuff this season. Just individual errors have sort of led to just classic goals being let in. But he said now, thanks to the lottery money that the club have got, he's now given George Borg a bit more of a budget to work with, and he's now going to sign some quality players. I know they were looking at Adam Cunnington sort of trying to come in as well, but he wanted so much money. But that's the sort of player that they're now looking to bring in and strengthen the sort of side. And I think if Borgie can get that team going and they can get some sort of quality on the pitch, games like last night, maybe they can sort of get something out of in the future.
It's funny you should mention about the money there, Lee, because that's what a lot of the big clubs with bigger crowds are complaining about. They're getting a similar sort of fee, and it's not enough to cover all their expenses. Where for smaller clubs like Braintree and even Hungerford, if you want to chuck them in there, it's a bonus for them.
Of course it is, but that's what we've said all along. You know, it's one person's riches are going to be another person's rags, and it's just that thing where teams, the smaller teams, thanks to the money, can now be competitive. And, because you don't want to be squandering down, almost relegated by Christmas. So the money is going to help somewhere along the line. But listen, back to sort of game, 3 points. It wasn't pretty by any sort of stretch, but again, shows that little bit of character that we've got in the side now, and that little bit of class.
You both remember last year, Lee Clark playing for Braintree got that goal late in the game. Goodness knows what he was doing up the end of the pitch, that end of the pitch. But also at that end yesterday, he nearly got a cracking home goal, didn't he, Lee? Jake?
he did indeed. I believe you called him Lee Clark, and I was wondering, wait, who? So yeah, Michael Clark, of course. Yeah. Yes, it was. I mean, I actually spoke to Neil Metcalf before the game, and he said to me he was worried at what end of the field Clark was going to score in, and then funnily enough, he cracks it off his own bar, but. Yeah, a bit fortunate, but you sort of need that when you're playing well. And like Lee says, the main thing for me was just that sort of fight and determination inside. I know Neil again had an interview with Ian Allinson this morning in the Hearts Ad or on the Hearts Ad website, and Ian talked about that drive and determination in the side. And I think you really saw that last night.
It took a long time to get there, didn't it? First half was so pedestrian. And when they did turn it up in the second half, we couldn't see it. It was too foggy.
Yeah. The fog was a little bit difficult at times. It was a little bit better on the stream than it was in person. I was actually struggling, but yeah, we didn't really get going. It was just that spell where we scored 2 goals and that's it. But it's worth mentioning. I mean, we spoke about this last night, actually, Dave. Mitchell Weiss's finish. From my angle, I couldn't see who it came off of, but it's a brilliant goal, isn't it? And he's proved to be quite the signing so far.
Yeah, him and Zane Banton, was it 3 each?
It's not a bad return. It's not a bad return, so is it? And it's good to see Zane in the goals as well. He's come back from that leg break, and I think City fans are delighted to see him still playing so well in the shirt.
Yeah. Braintree, but as we said, are pointless. So you would have expected us to win last night, and we got there. And Chippenham looked very poor. So it's easy to play down what City are achieving. The big test, the first really big test, maybe is going to come next Tuesday. We're to Dartford.
I'll tell you what, Tabs, there's absolutely no pleasing you, mate, is there, eh? It's too foggy, we're winning games, what's going on here? It's like, end of the day, mate, you can only beat what's put in for, Dartford is going to be tough. Dartford is going to be tough, and they're going to be, we've often been their bogey side, haven't we, Dartford, in the past. But listen, they've got some good players. We spoke about it time and time again, but there must be something to be said for the continuity and the consistency that Ian has been absolutely desperate for over seasons past. So hopefully this will sort of give us something positive to take into the game.
Agree with that, Jake?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've had a brilliant start. We're going into this game in perfect form, like Lee says. You can't really do much more to prepare for it. And of course, we've got another 7 days, which I know actually Ian Allison isn't necessarily happy with. I think he wants to be playing games consistently. But, we go there. We're probably a little bit the underdogs, given Dartford start to the new season. But, if we get a point, I think that's a great result myself.
Oh, I'm sure anybody would take that. I'm not actually knocking the way we started, just looking at the opposition. They haven't been as good as one would have expected. And so we've done what we could do. We're beating them. That was our 500th League South match yesterday, by the way, as you probably already know.
What a record we have.
Right, let's move on to other matters. We've got a running order here somewhere, haven't we?
I'll throw that away then, mate, quickly.
Last week, Lee, you had a meeting as part of Stand By Your Saints with the Trust and a couple of people from the club. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so over the course of the summer, we've had 2 meetings now. Lee Page, Lawrence Levy, myself and Sophie from Stand By Your Saints, and Duncan and Ian Rogers from the Trust. Just to basically outline our intentions going forward, and obviously just to get a little bit of sort of conversation going between all 3 parties, because the one thing that we felt in particular as fans groups is that the fans and supporters have been overlooked somewhat, especially in the more important decision-making aspects going forward. And we just wanted some clarification about those, and obviously how we can help support the parent club over the next season. The one thing that both the Trust and Stand By Your Saints were pleased with is that the club were very apologetic about not getting supporters involved in the new badge. I'm not saying that it would have altered the final result, but obviously it's something which fans should have been involved with. But obviously, you know, going forward, the club have now got their sort of vision and their goals and how they want to run things. And whether you like it or not, they're here to stay. So we've got to work with them. The club have now asked for all of the governance regarding Stand By Your Saints, about the booster budget in particular, because one thing that we have said is that booster budget has taken a massive hit over the last 2 years in particular. And we want to know from the club how they want us to sort of take this forward, if they want us to take this forward at all, and how they can help sort of generate some interest in it. Because it is, booster budget is a very divisive concept, isn't it? You either want to contribute more to the playing budget or you don't. We can't make people contribute. So one thing I would say, conversations have been positive. They've been challenging, but as you would expect, there's a lot gone on over the course of the last 3 or 4 months that needed to be addressed. And both the Trust and Stand By Your Saints weren't going to let it go, the fact that these things have been happening without the fans' consultation. And hopefully now there's an agreement in place that we can continue these discussions and make sure that fans have got a voice going forward.
You say about a club looking at the governance of these booster budget and all that sort of stuff. What does it mean? They want to take on the running of it?
I think they just wanted to sort of clarify what was coming in was indeed being relayed onto the club, other than, you know, us embezzling it and, you know, buggering off to Rio. No, it's absolutely above board. It's all, we are absolutely encouraging clarity throughout. But that, again, works both ways. So they just like to sort of see that they're getting, and obviously how much is being contributed. Because I reiterated to them, it's important that it's gone from a massive monthly contribution from supporters, and it's absolutely been decimated. For whatever reason, people have stopped contributing or they've reduced their contribution amount. So we have to address that. And they just want to sort of see the X's and O's to see how much it has decreased by and how they can help.
Any take of what the Trust thought of a meeting?
Yeah, the Trust were basically asking about the new ground situation. Obviously, if you imagine, the Trust make most of their money on a match day through golden goals and raffles and what have you, and obviously events in the clubhouse. So they were just sort of looking at seeing how they can help as well financially, and seeing what sort of plans the club have got to have fans going back into Clarence Park in the future.
Well, that's an interesting point, because one wonders what crowds are going to be like when lockdown finishes. After the Second World War, there's a massive boost for football attendances. Are we likely to see the same thing again? Or or will clubs have to be creative with their pricing, should we say?
I think it's hard to say at the minute. I think we saw that some of the clubs below our level sort of saw increases generally during when they were allowed to play before lockdown too, because obviously there wasn't much football to go see. But when we have fans back, I suspect that would be most of the Football League and Premier League can have fans back as well. And will we really see that increase in support across non-league generally? I think it's going to be very difficult. I don't see it myself. I think fans are going to flock back to their big clubs, their Football League clubs, etc. And sadly, I think that's just the way that football is these days. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, Ian Hall was awake before lunchtime today and sent a message, which is unusual for him. It's only about rewarding those who are paying for the streaming. He was angling more at people who don't go to the park at present. They're supporters of bigger clubs and they've drifted away from them for whatever reason, apart from not being able to go to the games. And to entice them down the park, he sort of suggests, well, if they take the streaming, offer them a free admission to a home game at some time. That's just one of many schemes which maybe is worth looking at.
I think it is, because if you look at it, we have non-league days, but also Harpenden Town have benefited the most out of the St Albans games not being able to be live. And the thing is, as Jake said, people are now going to go back to their Watfords and their Lutons and their Spurses and all of that. But also Harpenden Town, once they can get their games back on again, there's no suggestion that people who have had a really good time at Harpenden are going to flock back to sort of City. So the club have got to do everything they can during this lockdown period to entice people back for when they're allowed fans back into the ground. I know I've spoken to Ian as well personally, and that we're sort of trying to think of ways that we can do that and relay those ideas on to the club, because the worst thing to happen is the club be challenging for promotion and there's 300 fans rattling around inside Clarence Park.
Yeah, I think
it's interesting about Harpenden. A cracking game last week. They were totally outplayed by Leighton Town, who looked good, and somehow they won 1-0. But it was fantastic entertainment again. Because 10, 15 City supporters have brought season tickets over there. They might think, even if for the second half of this season you can get down the park, I'm going to use my season ticket at Harpenden for the rest of the season. It's not going to cost me any more. And somehow St Albans City have got to win those people back.
Yeah, I think it's a real challenge for all National League South and North clubs, to be honest, especially clubs that necessarily don't have the greatest support. It's going to be really difficult to get these fans back because they've gone to Harpenden Town. I know that Dulwich fans have been going to other clubs around their area and they've been really enjoying the experience, and even, if clubs like Dulwich are going to struggle to get fans back, how are we going to do it? There's going to have to be some really strong initiatives in place, and it's going to take up a lot of thinking. And of course, the difficulty is as well, we don't know if that's going to be in January, March, or even next season. So you've got to start planning now. All clubs at this level, you've got to start planning, looking forward and seeing how they can get fans back in the ground and entice the fans back.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be interesting. Dulwich got a game tonight, aren't they? Away to Havant and Waterlooville. We've only played 3 games so far, 3 league games.
It's easy for some.
Sorry, Jake, say again?
Easy for some.
Easy for some, yes, indeed. Oh, well, I think we'll be coming back to this point again when we get closer to the possible return of fans to grounds at our level, or any level at the moment. But we've got anything else on the menu? Oh, we have. Actually, talking of Havant, let's have a quick look at our sides in the FA Cup at the weekend. I don't know how closely you followed it. Havant brought to an end Cray Valley Paper Mills run, 2 of them off a shred with a 1-0 result at Wesley Park. Don't do that, Jake. That Havant side, Godfrey Poku, Musa Diarra and Joey Shafano. They wouldn't be anywhere if it weren't for us, Havant.
That's very true. I think, to be fair, I think we all talked about during the summer, didn't we? Just how good that side looks down there. They've put together a brilliant side, as you expect Doswell would always do, and of course got 3G as well now. And they, they're going to be, I think, one of the sides to beat this season. But as you say, it's all ex-Saints, so that means when we play them, they're going to score a goal each, or
You don't have to. We've got Michael Clark to do it for them, haven't we?
Poor Michael. He's done nothing wrong in this last 2 games. He's played pretty well, actually.
He's come back. He's done really well, hasn't he? It's got to be said. Yeah. Well done. Haven't rewarded a little trip up to Marine, somewhere we've never been. Although in 1992, when we went to France for a week, we were wandering down the street and we wanted a group photo of the players and us hangers-on there as well. And bloke we got to take the photo was none other than the Marine chairman at the time. And he's used to it, I've heard. Concord in the FA Cup at the weekend, 2-2 with Stevenage, lost on penalties. Who was it who said trouble is there when you want 2 teams to lose, you can't win?
Very good. I again spoke to Neil, spoke to him about everything yesterday, just before the game, and he said it was absolutely awful spectacle.
Oh, well, that's pretty good for Stevenage. What a tie this was for Eastbourne at home to Blackpool. Charlie Walker, I believe, was out there. They lost 3-0. No disgrace in that.
No, I think they'd be happy with that, wouldn't they?
We'd have thought so. Did you catch any cup ties over the weekend, Lee?
I was following Hayes' game because obviously I do their program. So yeah, absolutely gut wrenching for them, to sort of go ahead and then conceding like the last minute and then lose out as well. So, but that is the beauty of the cup, isn't it? But to take Carlisle so close and then lose out is just But the FA Cup, it's brilliant. It's a sort of different take on it this season because it seems to me quite a lot of the smaller teams are doing really, really, really well. But obviously now we're sort of getting into the latter stages of it. The cream will always rise to the top.
Tunbridge did well. It's only 7-0, wasn't it? Hampton and Waterlooville. Not Hampton. Hampton and River. Good grief. Slow start to the season. Now coming good. So close to taking, I can't take Oldham to a replay. Taking the penalties. 3-2 that game. Last night, they won at Hungerford. They are looking like a side we need to watch out for. Haven't already beaten them, though.
Well, you know what Gary McCann can do down there. See the job he did at Hendon on a very small budget, and I think he's going to do very well at Hampton. Last season I think they already, went past their expectations and probably should have been in the playoffs in the end. They were so close before the lockdown, and I think they'll be one of the sides to watch. Obviously, that first day defeat against us, it was such a tight game, you couldn't really tell much from it. But they looked big and strong. And I think when you've got a side like that, when you've got Charlie Vassmer, Dean Inman, etc., I think you're going to be in and around it. And it's a big result for Hampton and also a big result for Hungerford because now they've got to bounce back.
Yes, indeed. The biggest result of the round, though, probably Oxford City 2, Northampton Town 1. And, of course, Northampton were 1-0 up. When the league side gets in that position, you think it's all over, don't you?
But fair play to Oxford. I was watching it on Twitter, and they really battled back well. They even missed a penalty as well. But of course, 2 former Saints, Harvey Bradbury and Elliot Benyon, at the ripe old age of whoever knows what. And fair play to Oxford. They're a good footballing side, and they deserve their place in the second round.
I think Elliot's only about 34 or something. Did he not come on for Harvey Bradbury? I think, and it was Elliot who won the second penalty, which was converted, but it was outside the box. No doubt about that.
Are you saying we need VAR?
No, worst thing ever invented. First worst thing was the kick-ins. The really worst thing is VAR. Get rid of it. Load of nonsense.
Now, Tabs, Jake probably wouldn't know this, but when the kick-ins did sort of come into, 90 96, I guess, or was it 96, 95? So the manager at the time, Alan Cochrane, he was going to fine any one of our players who took a kick in. He wanted everyone to do the traditional throw-ins, and someone did try it in a match, and he got fined. Alan Cochrane fined 50.
We didn't do a single one, Lee.
Did we not?
Yeah, we didn't do a single one.
No, because Roy Edwards was he was telling me that someone went to sort of try it, and it was anyway. But the fact of the matter is that he wouldn't let anyone take one, which is absolutely amazing.
No, in Roy, so he got confused. It was probably Gareth Houser chucking a ball out from goal. Good old boy. Oh yes, for kick-ins. Why do we have to bring that up? Just upsets everybody.
Only you, mate.
All right. Thank you. Actually, the thing about that, Lee, you'll remember it because we didn't do it. We got all the publicity. Do you remember that article in the Daily Telegraph? I don't know if Keith Perry had a hand in it, but Cockers, he got a whole of a column down the side of a page talking about not doing the kick-ins. I can't imagine, please, the Ishmael League somewhere up here. Please them too much.
To be honest with you, though, the day when Alan Cochrane gives the monkeys what the Isthmian League thought, mate, it was, long gone. And as for you suggesting I'm going to read the Telegraph, mate, you want to hold your horses there, fella, I'll tell you. But crack on.
Hey, you might have had your chips in it or something, you know. Right, we got anything else we want to touch on?
Bit short of subjects this week, aren't we?
Oh, we could flog this, couldn't we?
Oh no!
Oh my God!
How
many of those have you got floating around, mate?
And one thing we have got to tell everybody about, we now have a email which we're going to put on the description after we finish talking this nonsense. And so if you want to get in touch, feel free. Be careful what you say. We can't do anything that's not anatomically possible. There you go. Hopefully we get a bit of interaction going there.
Well, I know people love speaking to us, don't they? So, I mean, I'm sure they'll be absolutely delighted that you've got another email address to email them from.
Yeah, the thing is, though, Jake, they love speaking to us, but they've got to get permission first.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny, that, Lee, because today the head of media at Clarence Park had a chat with the review and said they're quite happy for me to do the reports, obviously from my armchair. So this strategy of restricting access for the media so as everybody goes on our online portals, that seems to have lasted about 2 weeks. Now anybody can do the reports. As you say, Radio Verum was there last night. Neil was there last night. I was sitting here doing mine. So what happened to this cutting it all back?
George Orwell is alive and well, my friend. Hey, come on. Common sense. It's not for everybody.
So as George Borg mentioned earlier. Actually, talking to George Borg, I think he was playing for Barking the day we lost 1-0 there, but Richard Nugent, centre half, and his son now plays, is it at Stevenage or somewhere like that? Richard Nugent plays, he scored a screamer from 35 yards, and it's disallowed for offside for somebody out on the touchline. That's the only thing that's good about the modern game now. Goals like that don't get wiped out.
Should we do some predictions for the Dartford game?
Yeah, we didn't do last night, did we? So you would have been right on 2-1 is what you always say, Jake. And Lee's 4-0 would have been wrong. But yeah, let's go for Dartford.
I'm going to say 2-2.
Right. Well, that's very, defensive, isn't it, Jacob? So I'm going to go for a bit more. Well, yeah, unfortunately. We're going to go for a bit more positivity now. So I'm going to go for 2-1 Saints.
Love it.
Well done, Lee. And of course, Dartford struggling this season. Played 7, won 5, drawn 1, lost 1. Oh, we're top of the table. Which when they went out of the cup, Jake, you said Steve King won't worry about that. He's more interested in the league, and that's the way it's panning out at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think is Ryan Hill still there? So he'll probably score against us. So that's the one that's least predicted. But we've got 2 in the bank.
Yeah, I've only let 6 goals in this season, 3 of them in one game against Dorking. That's obviously because the players have taken from us, tightened them up.
Oh, dear.
On that note,
Yeah.
Yes. Right, shall we go and put the dinner on? It's 6:30. Must be time starting to eat.
Yes, it is, absolutely. Thank you to everyone for watching, as always, all our lovely viewers. As Dave said, if you want to email us, use the email address in the description. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you both of you for joining us once again, and hope everyone stays safe and well.
Thanks, boys.
Cheers,
Take
everyone.
care of yourselves.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.